Welcome to the Pitch Strike Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Northeast Streaming Sports and Sportswire Radio. I am Tats. I am here with Rob and Donald, and it was what should have been just the perfect weekend was spoiled by some rare faulty pitching, as the Yankees were denied the sweep of the Royals, and there were a couple of things that made me sit back and go, all right, the loss sucks, but it wasn't the end of the world. That was the when the Yankees are leading after 8 innings, they are 55-2 now. So it's very rare that a bullpen does collapse to that magnitude. It is the first earned run that Marinaccio gave up in 2 months, and that was the first time somebody took Holmes deep this year. So those three things, it's okay. It as rare as it was, I think it stings us a little bit more for us because it all happened in one night. That was something that was not expected, especially the way that game was being played, the way the offense picked up Monty, who did not have a good start. You really have one inning that just fell apart for him. The first four, going into the fourth inning, he looked like he was just back on track, and then just the rug fell out from, the floor fell from under him. So overall, it wasn't a terrible game. It was just a very disappointing outcome. You think that's fair to say?
Yeah. It was also another ugly loss, and it's been a pretty bad month in terms of pitching. We were actually first in the league in runs scored this month, and we're like 20th in starting rotation ERA. So if you're looking for reasons to pinpoint why we struggled this month, it's our first bad month of the year, and we were still over 500. And the bullpen struggled. Clay Holmes especially has been bad this month. It's not just a one-game thing. He's been really, really bad this month, but you're going to give him a pass because of how good he was. You just hope he can turn it around from August and September. Before August and September. But yeah, to see Marinaccio give up his first run, that's why I was very hesitant to put him in the high leverage spots, even against a team like Kansas City. I'm like, I don't think he's ready for it yet. And he still was able to fight through it, to get through the inning and not give up the lead. But then you see Holmes come in, and if teams are not biting at that sinker, he's just walking everybody. Yeah. And it's scary because now if they got that game plan, it's like just make him walk you. And the fact that Salvi Perez just got called back from the IL, and he's already taken 2 of our best pitchers deep in this series, or he did for 3-run home runs, that's annoying. Don't let their best hitters beat you. They got like 2 of them, and you're letting them beat you. So that's annoying too. It was a very annoying ending to that series. I'm fine with the series win, but yeah, we should have swept them. So I'm not like terribly upset, but I'm a little concerned with Holmes' struggles this month.
Yeah. Donald, you were at the game yesterday, right? Was that the game you were at? What was the atmosphere watching it live?
Oh, the atmosphere is always great at Yankee Stadium. The atmosphere is 100% always great. That's not the issue. But yeah, let's go through it. So first of all, Monty was wild. 4 walks. That's uncharacteristic for him, especially against left-handers. He was walking guys. But to be honest, he's stunk for a good couple outings now. In fact, as long as I can remember, basically the last 4 or 5 outings, he's stunk. I'm pretty much done with him. Bullpen stinks. That's why we're in this situation now where Marinaccio in the 8th inning, as I say, is pretty high leverage for him. But we don't have any. Who else are we going to bring in? We had Wandy Peralta came in earlier than him. I don't trust any of them in the 8th inning necessarily. So we do have a hole as to who's going to pitch the 8th inning. You don't want Chapman to be pitching there. The only positive in terms of pitching was Loaizaga had some of his looked a little bit more nasty movement, but I mean his ERA is freaking ridiculous. It was 7 going into this outing, so we've got serious problems with the bullpen. And then we got to Holmes, and basically this month he's losing control of his sinker. His sinker's got crazy movement anyway, but he's struggling to locate it, and it's wild, and he's hitting people. It was like that against. Don't forget, he blew the game against the Reds as well. We had quite a significant lead against the Reds, and he completely imploded. And he was hitting people left, right, and center. And we go into yesterday, and it was quite similar. Completely wild. He had no control at all. And the one pitch he managed to locate was a home run in the Monument Park. And it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking because I wanted to see them win, and it's always heartbreaking to see them lose, especially when I was all excited because Rizzo saved the day with a 3-run home run, and LeMahieu did his thing. Here's another thing that scares me: Carpenter balled out, Rizzo balled out, LeMahieu balled out, and we still lost because Judge didn't hit a home run. If Judge isn't hitting a home run, we're screwed. Judge carries this team, really. If Judge doesn't do his thing every single night, this team doesn't win.
That's actually true. Can I cut you off for just a second? Before yesterday, he accounted for 43% of our runs after the All-Star break.
Yeah,
he was bringing in nearly half of our runs. Yeah, if you don't think Aaron Judge is carrying this team, then you're sadly mistaken. You take him off the team right now, we're like second or third in the division.
100%, 100. I was going to say that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, that's why you're hearing a lot of, that's why you're hearing a strong case for him with the MVP talks, because that's the MVP. It's if you remove that player,
I think you're underselling that, Taz. It's like strong. It's like who else? I mean, even if he didn't play for the rest of the year, he should be MVP. That's how strong it is. We're talking about Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth level here. He's having. No. He's on course for 66 home runs.
It's insane. He is the MVP. There's no doubt about it. And there are people that are going to try to discredit, his MVP status, but they could just, they can shove it. But I know a lot of people think that it should be Ohtani every year, but that's neither here nor there. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out with him. But I think that the fact that, like what Rob said, when you're having that higher percentage from one player is your offensive productivity, there's a problem. And you have a day and a half left to address that problem with the trade deadline. And it's just, you want to know, you're waiting on the edge of your seat to see where the Yankees are going to go to fix some of these deficiencies. I think that the pitching, we're all excited that Benintendi's here, and we still want one more bat. But I think a bullpen arm needs to get a little more attention in the trade talks, especially with Holmes kind of becoming a little more human. Where earlier in the month we were all ecstatic because nobody could touch this guy because of the way his ball moves. Now it's not moving in a way that we're getting consistent results. So I think a bullpen arm to back up Holmes, especially with Chapman, very iffy. Marinaccio, he can get you, he can give you multiple innings, but he's not a high leverage reliever just yet. I think he can be, but not yet. Loizaga still trying to find himself and fix some of the numbers that he had before he was before he went on the IL. The bullpen they need to shift focus to the bullpen as much as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, at least one starting pitcher because I mean Cortez is probably the only guy that's pitching up to his capabilities right now. Garrett Cole, he's doing this odd pension where he looks great for 4 innings, and then in the 5th inning he seems to just implode. Again, I can't work that out. So he's not pitching like an ace, and I'm the biggest Garrett Cole stan there is, but right now he's not pitching like an ace. So then you go down Taillon. He's actually had a pretty damn good year, but he had a rough 4 or 5 starts in a row. He's starting to come out of it now, but you don't really know necessarily what you're going to get out of him from Wednesday next. But I trust him a hell of a lot more than I trust Montgomery, who's flatlining pretty fast. And then we got Domingo Herman, who stinks, and bad human being too. And we're struggling now. We need at least one starting pitcher. Very serious concern there. I'm not quite sure whether the deadline can cover the amount of holes that we have, because we've still got a problem at third base too, with Josh Donaldson, who's probably worse than Joey Gallo.
No, he's no probably about it. He was hitting like below 100 over his last week of games, and for the month he's barely grazing the 200 batting average. The on base is low, the slugging's low. He hasn't hit a home run since Bobby Tats was a kid, and it's terrible. The guy sucks. He's awful to watch. He strikes out. He's hitting rollovers. When he makes hard contact, it goes right to the defense, so he's unlucky in that regard, I guess. He's bad, and they're putting him in the 5 spot every single day. He's hitting above Matt Carpenter. Why is he not batting 9th? You were so willing to put Gallo in the 9th spot when he was struggling, but now you have Donaldson ahead of your hottest hitter that's not named Aaron Judge. Like, what are we doing here? Do you think Carpenter's going to be back? He's going to be having – if Donaldson leads off an inning, there's going to be one out, and then you have Carpenter up. Why not shift the lineup around? Why is Benintendi batting in the middle of the order?
Thank you.
I know they don't want to move Judge from the 2-hole, and LeMahieu's been so good, but LeMahieu in an RBI spot, I would be a lot more comfortable with him batting 5th than I would be Benintendi. Benintendi or LeMahieu can be your leadoff man, but you have to have the other one batting 5th. LeMahieu would be fine over there. I know he's been so good in the leadoff, but you can switch that around. We need Stanton back. We really, really do. And I think we need to get another bat that can play shortstop. Joey Wendell would fit that bill. Or if you can keep him, if you're able to get a rental pitcher like Rodon, or if you make a move for a lesser guy like Paul Blackburn, who no one's going to be excited about, but he's not a terrible pitcher, you're going to keep Peraza, and he better be on this goddamn roster if he's not traded. I will say that. If you're going to keep him in AAA rotting and don't trade him for a pitcher, then Brian Cashman's head needs to be on a stick outside of Yankee Stadium.
Rob bringing the fire.
Like a paper mache head, We're not talking about, we're not trying to condone violence here, but let's make a point here. We're not happy. If you're gonna keep the prospect, call him up. Now, I will say this deadline is very important for our future. If Peraza goes, Volpe's the shortstop as soon as next year, I think. It's very early next year. If we don't trade Peraza, he should be the shortstop right now, and then you maybe move Volpe to 2nd or 3rd, because you can't have both play shortstop. Peraza right now is 1,000% better than IKF. There's no question about it. Because IKF he's the same player he was last year. Below average defender at shortstop with a singles bat who's going to run the bases. You can't complain about his production because he's doing the exact same thing he did last year. You got the same player. The player you acquired is doing exactly what you expected. But you can upgrade there. And if you can have LeMahieu switch to 3rd the rest of the way, guess what? You don't have to worry about Donaldson until next year, and find maybe someone, if you eat most of his money, you can just get rid of him. But Peraza should be up. If not, he needs to be traded. And there are guys out there you can trade him for. Will they do it? We'll see. These next, 30-some-odd hours, whatever it is, it's very, very important for this team's immediate and further down the line future.
Yeah, 6 p.m. tomorrow, everything's shut down.
Bringing the fire, Rob. I love it. You're right, man. I mean, I always viewed IKF as a really good utility player. I never actually viewed him necessarily as an everyday player.
See, the tricky thing with IKF is in a non-pressure game, he plays very well. He doesn't make the blaring errors. He doesn't. The focus isn't on his play. And what's weird is on defense, he kind of folds under the pressure where he tries to make too perfect a play, and he'll have a little mishandle of the ball. But on offense, when the pressure is on, his bats are a lot better. So he's a very complicated player to really break down. and really analyze where the problem is, because it's really
The problem is
way
hard
he
contact.
plays
He
the
doesn't make any
play.
hard contact.
And he doesn't make the routine plays at short. Like he's
No,
like
this is
260 out of 260 and outs above average. John Boy put up the stat in balls that are right in front of him. So he makes the difficult plays look easy, but he makes the easy plays look difficult. Is essentially what that is. He's not making the clean plays at short. He's not a shortstop. You know, that's the problem. We only have 15 minutes. I can go on an incredibly long rant if I wanted to. It goes all the way back to the offseason. I can't get mad about IKF because he's the exact same player he was last year. Look up his stats. They're identical. It's almost scary. What I can get mad about is Brian Cashman's idea of being creative and adding a shortstop or third baseman to play shortstop when we already had one, and then adding $25 million a year for a third baseman that we didn't need. So that's my issue, and I don't want to go on another long rant about it, but you can't tell me if we just ran it back with Urshela at short and DJ at third, we wouldn't still be in the same position we are. We'd be better. And that's the scary thing, because people would have been mad if we just ran it back, which is essentially what we did. The only improvement we're seeing is from catcher. We're not that much better at short, a little bit. Donaldson's defense at third is not enough to be like, oh, we got to make that trade 10 times out of 10. It's been catching. So you could have moved Sanchez. You still could have made the Trevino trade and just been like, look, the lockout screwed things up. We got to run it back. And we'd be in the same position because Urshela's leaps and bounds better than IKF, and Donaldson wouldn't be on the team right now.
And the Trevino trade was actually in response to the failed Nordvet acquisition. I'm telling you, that trade is one of the worst trades we've had in the modern era. Josh Donaldson played disaster, but he was kind of toast over the last couple of years too. He was declining fast, but not nearly as much as is declining this year. He's just fallen off a cliff this year. He's just way out in front. I mean, I was there. He's not even seeing the pitches. He is not seeing these pitches at all. He's way out in front, and he's bat flipping pop-ups. He's thinking he's hitting home runs, but they're actually pop-ups, and it's like, what are you looking at? We did a bat flip yesterday to a routine fly ball. So he's lost. And then the Nordvet acquisition mess. IKF is a third baseman playing shortstop. Now, if you wanted to do a straight swap, I'm pretty sure you probably could have done an Urshela and a Gary Sanchez and IKF trade, probably direct if you wanted to. Plus maybe one or two low leverage prospects to maybe make sure that deal goes through. But if you wanted to deal with that, but you did not need to add Josh Donaldson's money. You did not need to move on from Urshela. Urshela balled out last year, jumping in the stands like Derek Jeter and stuff. And what was his thanks getting traded? Don't like the look of that. So yeah, I think I hate that trade. I hated it at the time. I hate it even more now.
You could have made that trade anyway, though. Like, think about it. We could have given them Gary and a couple of lower end prospects and Abreu and gotten back IKF and Trevino.
Yeah,
it's the exact same thing. Because Urshela at short is basically what you're getting from IKF. Urshela's got a better bat. LeMahieu at third is already, we don't even need to compare him and Donaldson. Torres is back at second where he's clearly better. You still bring back Rizzo, and all that money that's getting paid to Donaldson can go to someone like, I don't know, Aaron Judge, and you have him locked up. And that would have been a very bare minimum offseason, but we wouldn't be worrying about Judge's contract. And then we could just be like, all right, well, now next year, luxury tax will reset. You got all this ammo, the money coming off the books, go out and make the moves, no lockout to worry about. Brian Cashman had every reason to use the lockout as an excuse, and he still added money that he didn't need to add with Josh Donaldson. It's just, the guy just pisses me off.
The truth is, Aaron Judge has actually saved the Yankees bacon this year.
Yeah.
Without Aaron Judge having this, one of the most historic years I've ever come across, this team would probably be a wild card team, and most of them. But it certainly is covered up for this terrible offseason that Brian Cashman actually had. And let's not forget, Brian Cashman failed to re-sign Aaron Judge, which is over his head right now. And it's getting more and more glaring as each week goes by, and Aaron Judge continues to talk in the past tense as to his future as a Yankee, and that concerns me too. But that's all just the way the Yankees handled him. the Yankees handled him with class and got the job done, we wouldn't be in this situation. Now, we've got a ton of holes, and Aaron Judge is covering up for most of them. But if he's not balling out every night, then they're not going to win. So it's a real, I've got a legit concern right now. And what's Rizzo? Is he got a player option at the end of this year, or is it a team option?
It's a player option.
I hope he picks up the player option. Let's hope he does, because if he tests free agency, then the Yankees have our first base hole.
Which they're probably going to just put LeMahieu over there next year and be like, "Oh, we have third baseman set with Donaldson." Which
oh my god,
smash my head into a wall. But
yeah,
that's for a few months down the line. So let's hope. I think if Rizzo comes back, it would mean that Judge resigned, because those two are like attached to the hip right now.
Yeah,
Rizzo's been awesome. He really has. He's been great. So yeah, we've got real worries. Now the Castillo deal. Tats, how are you feeling about that?
It's a mixed bag. I'm pissed off that Cashman wasn't able to get that pitcher that we need to put. We need that legitimate 1A behind Cole. But at the price that the Mariners paid, we would have had an overpay so bad that it would have really thrown the minor league system so offline that we would have had to give up. It would have cost us Volpe and
Peraza.
Probably is both of them. Where does that leave you with shortstop next year? So Cashman had no choice but to say, thanks but no thanks.
Yeah, the Mariners give up 3 of their top 5 prospects.
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Number 3 and number 5 in their prospects list. That's huge. I'm shocked at that return.
Well, the problem with that is going to be,
if you looked at it in our case, that would be what? It would be Volpe, Peraza, and what, Dominguez?
No, it'd be probably Waldichuk and then because they gave up another pitcher, Andrew Moore. So for us, it'd be Volpe, Peraza, Waldichuk, and Will Warren would be like the similar return. Cashman's not giving up both of them in one trade. No shot.
No shot. And that's why I don't necessarily hate the fact that we didn't make that deal.
No.
But it puts added pressure on the fact that we have to get Rodon or we have to get Frankie Montas, because if we don't get one of those two, then I can't see us really getting past the Astros.
No, that's what it is. If we can't land a top flight pitcher, the postseason is going to be very similar to what we've seen.
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's the problem. And the other problem is, as we see every year, teams know that, and they will try to exploit the Yankees to sell their future for the present, just to get the championship, back. And Cashman's, as frustrating as it is, it's better that if you're going to give up a guy like Volpe or Peraza or Dominguez or Waldichuk, the name better be Soto. Otherwise, you are not going to be able to sell that to the fan base that this was that it was a good trade.
Well, you can give up Peraza for the thing is the Yankees were close for Castillo, so I'm sure it was Peraza. It could have been Pereira as well. I mean, my offer the other day was Peraza, Pereira, and Warren, and maybe you throw in a Wesneski. That could have been very similar to what they were offering. And it wasn't enough because Seattle came out of nowhere and said, here's 3 of our top 5. You can't blame the Reds for taking that. You really can't blame Cashman for not saying, okay, well, we'll give you Volpe as well. There's no way he was doing that. He's not going to do it for Montas, who's going to need a similar return. Won't be as much, but he's going to get a similar return because he's very close statistically to Castillo. They're both 29, both have an extra year of control. Oakland's going to get a king's ransom for him. You have to pivot to Rodon. He's essentially a rental. It might still cost you Peraza, but I don't think it would. And you have to go get him. He's the guy right now because even if I would see the potential in a guy like Paul Blackburn, but the rest of the fan base is going to be like, who? This guy's got an ERA over 4. And it's going to be similar to what they said, what I even said about Clay Holmes. They're not going to be like looking deeper into it. But that's not enough to put you over the top. Rodon is really, really good, and he's essentially going to be treated like a rental because there's no shot he opts in next year. He's going to get Robbie Ray type money next offseason. Why would he opt in? So the Giants can't be asking for too much for a guy that teams know is going to be a rental. That's where the Yankees really should pivot. If they can get Rodon, they should have enough ammo to make another trade with a team like the Marlins. You can get Wendell or Anthony Bass. He's been electric. You upgrade the bullpen. You upgrade a utility player off the bench. Wendell's a really good hitter, can play short, third, second. There's options out there. And they don't have to give up top prospects to do it. But they need to do something because this team right now is getting smoked by the Houston Astros in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Smoked.
Yeah, I don't even think...
You know, Rob, you touched on this earlier, and I think it's a good way to close this. Boone's usage of Benintendi. Benintendi is a leadoff hitter playing in the middle of the order, and I think that negates what he actually gives us. They need to fit. That's like, for instance, Chuck Knobloch in his prime, prior to him having the yips. It'd be like putting Chuck Knobloch in the fifth hole. You know, he is very much a leadoff hitter. He's a 300 hitter who doesn't strike out, who walks a ton, but he doesn't have much power, right? Why are you putting him in RBI positions? That doesn't help him. That doesn't help us. He needs to be up at the top of the order or in a position where he can be a second leadoff man. I think he should be batting either 1 or 2. I can't really think of any other spot he should be batting.
Maybe the 9 spot if you want him ahead of LeMay. Technically treat that like the second leadoff spot that we talk about a lot. But no, he should be at the top of the order. LeMahieu is a great leadoff hitter again this year. He's really turned it around. The batting average won't jump out like it did in 2019, but everything else does. Benintendi should be a leadoff guy. They don't want to move Judge from the 2 spot. That's really what it comes down to because they can just go Benintendi, LeMahieu, and that's like Knobloch Jeter or Damon Jeter from 2009. And then you have the power bats right in between. You can go Judge, Rizzo.
Why are we so stuck to Judge in the 2 hole?
It's something like it's analytics, lineup optimization. Yeah. You want your best player batting second. I don't get it, but Judge can bat anywhere in the order and be productive. So that I'm not even worried about that. It's just Benintendi batting 5th and LeMahieu batting 1st. If you just flip those two, LeMahieu's coming up in so many more RBI spots where he's been very good since we got him. He's always finding a way to come through. And his power stroke's coming back this year. I think he's got 10 or 11 now. Which is
number Donaldson. 11 was yesterday.
Yeah.
With a
more than Josh Donaldson, by the way. So he's got the knack for coming through. And I'll let Tats finish this up. But, yeah, if you just flip those two in the order, it's going to make the lineup a lot more full.
That was what they wanted to do in the first place. Remember, they wanted Donaldson leading off and LeMahieu in the 5 hole all year.
Right.
Donaldson leading off. Give me a freaking break.
Yeah, Donaldson should be batting 8th or 9th or just sitting on the bench.
10th.
Should be batting in a rec league and senior league here in Fort Lauderdale.
No, I definitely would adjust the lineup and have Benintendi leading off. You know, then I think Rob is spot on. You know, put LeMahieu in the 5 spot, or even have Benintendi, Judge, LeMahieu, Rizzo, Torres as your top 5. You know, that could work too, especially that Rizzo starting to get that swing back. So that's another way that they could adjust his lineup where, you still have your role players that can keep the line moving like a Carpenter or Trevino towards the bottom of the lineup, and even Hicks. So this lineup is very fixable. They just have to have the balls to do it and say, okay, this is how we're going to, until Stanton gets back, this is how we're going to roll with it. Because they need to put out a very formidable lineup tonight because Seattle's in town, and guess who we have to face tonight? We have Castillo going against us tonight. So, we got a little salt on the wound having to face the guy that we missed out on his first time back. So it's really not going to be fun. But
it's not Castillo tonight.
No, when he's supposed to be pitching this series.
I think it's Wednesday against Cole.
Wednesday. Okay. All right. Where you pitch out your pride, play hard.